Appreciate y'all tuning in today. Welcome to the Strike Zone, a good place to be for all the latest in-depth baseball analysis, a weekly baseball podcast where we're going to cover it all. Team-by-team breakdowns, the ups and downs of the season. Excited to share some interesting and quirky stats from the opening week and some of the biggest storylines I see developing already for the season. Now let's get down to business, the heart of this show. We got the team-by-team breakdowns. We're going to go team-by-team, starting off with a different division every week. Opening week, I'm going with the AL East. It feels traditional. It's always the top league when you go to the ESPN website or you look at Google, and the Yankees are a pretty dang good story to start with as well. The Bronx Bombers, absolutely earning that nickname. They've hit 23 home runs in 8 games to start this off. They're 6-2, and they have to be feeling good. Judge has 6 home runs. Jazz and Volpe have 4. Trent Grisham has 3 somehow. Austin Wells and rookie Ben Rice have 2 apiece. This Yankees team has felt a bit different in the offseason. You're losing Soto's 40-plus homers. Giancarlo Stanton's out to start. You're thinking maybe it's going to be a bit of a different team, but they're following the same Bronx Bomber format that we know and love so far, errors included, but literally everyone's hitting. It's nice to see young first baseman Ben Rice making a good impression. Yankees actually have him batting second in the lineup, sometimes first ahead of Aaron Judge. His teammate Jason Dominguez, fellow rookies, also doing nicely. 33 plate appearances for him with an 847 OPS that will play Jason. These Yankees, 25 home runs in 8 games is incredible, averaging over 3 home runs per game. Aaron Judge is a monster, almost hit a 4-home-run game, which Michael Kay said something interesting. It's actually more rare, only happened 18 times compared to a perfect game, which has happened 24 times. The Yankees hit 9 home runs in one game, broke a franchise record. They're just on fire right now. Goldie's hitting well, too. I really hope that signing works out. Right now, he's looking good. 123 OPS plus for him. If he can have 1 or 2 more good years and maybe get in a World Series or have a moment in a deep playoff run, that would be enough to tip him over, in my opinion, to the Cooperstown bound type talk. He really is right on the fence currently. Feels like such a good Yankees move to get him. They love getting old guys. I remember teams growing up were whole Yankees teams made up of aging guys like Andrew Jones and Vernon Wells and Mark Teixeira. On the pitching side of things, Fried was a fantastic pickup this offseason. I view him as a actual number 1 type starter. This guy's got a career 3.07 ERA. He's looked good in his first 2 starts. Between him and Rodon, that's actually a solid 1-2 punch, even without Garrett Cole, who's going to be gone all year with his first Tommy John surgery. The Bombers are probably pretty happy to have Stroman right now. I look at Stroman more like a 4 or 5 starter at this point in his career, but he's not a bad option in the rotation. It was just a couple of years ago, actually, with the Cubs. He was looking pretty dominant, was actually an all-star. He had a great first half with us. Now, I'd say the X factor here is going to be Clark Schmidt, how fast he can come back, because the version of the rotation right now that we're pumping out to start has a 37-year-old Carlos Cookie Carrasco as a number 5 starter and rookie 25-year-old Will Warren, guy with a mid-3s minor league ERA, pretty much unproven. He's the number 4 starter right now. I can see that having some issues, a guy who's maybe a little bit too old and a guy who's a little bit too young. Now, the bullpen has some good guys. Weaver to Devin Williams is a pretty sick ramp up to the save. I see Mark Leiter Jr. has some pretty good moves. He's got a couple good pitches. Not a ton of bullpen depth, but we need a bigger sample size. I'll give shout-outs to Adam Ottavino, 39-year-old reliever. He's been playing pro ball since 2010. Seems to have alternating years of great and terrible, so that's going to be a fun little experiment there in the Bronx. Moving on to second place, we've got the Toronto Blue Jays, Hello Canada's finest, having a good opening split series with the Orioles, then sweeping the Nationals, then losing 2-3 to the Mets. They have a 5-4 record to start. I imagine Toronto, your fans are pretty good with that. You're just happy to see George Springer and Bo Bichette having solid starts to a year, of which both are looking to have a bounce-back type season. Bo Bichette is a prime bounce-back type player to me. After several years of hitting right above or right around 300, he just tanks one year at 26 years old with a 5.99 OPS. And baseball is just one of those weird sports where things can really spiral, and bad luck and bad play can just affect a guy's entire year. He's got too good of a track record and bad ball profiles to stay the way he was last year. I like Bo Bichette for this year, and he's starting out strong. Newcomer Andres Jimenez coming over from the Indians. He's known more for his defense. He's swinging the bat really well with authority here early on, hitting 3 home runs so far. He's the team leader. He did have that one season a couple years ago with like a 140 OPS plus. He's looking to be that type of player again. Combine that with his amazing defense, Gold Glove level defense. That's an all-star 6-WAR level player. Of course, Vladdy Jr. is a cornerstone type guy. Moving on to the rotation, it is fairly old, but it's filled with the proven, consistent guys you like. Bassett and Gossman, they're those reliable veterans year in, year out. It will be really interesting to see what Max Scherzer can give them. You know, he's 40 years old now, only threw 43 innings last year, but he has never posted an ERA higher than 3.95 in the last 10 years plus. So he's always been good. Barrios should be okay, but the most exciting piece for me in the rotation is saving the guy for last, Bowden Francis. He had a breakout type season last year, 103 innings pitched, low 3s ERA. If he can be that kind of guy again, if he can give them an entire season's worth of low 3s ERA, that rotation has the potential to be a solid presence in the game. The bullpen has had some blow-up innings. We'll see if there's a shakeup there as the season goes on. Depending on guys like Richard Lovelady and Jacob Barnes, who has a career 4.76 ERA, might necessitate some moves. In third place, so we've got the Tampa Bay Rays playing 500 ball. They did a fine job there, beating up the Rockies and Pirates, taking the early series from both of those below-average teams. But they lost 2 competitive games to a more dangerous Texas Rangers. However, you know, it's early. You can't read too much into anything. Tampa can be really fun to watch this year. I really like their pitching coming out of the gate. They did not make the playoffs last year. They broke a streak of 5 consecutive postseason appearances that they had it going on. But, I mean, they had 80 wins, so there was talent on this roster last year. They were bit a little bit by the injury bug. I like their rotation. Littell, Papayat, Bradley, Rasmussen. They all had good goes through the rotation on their turn one. That gives me confidence even without Shane McClanahan. He's out for the foreseeable future, has a tricep injury. Not sure how serious that tricep is, but you know, he's got that injury history, missing all of last year. In the bullpen, Pete Fairbanks can dial up the heat in the pen. He's going to shut some games down pretty nicely. And they do have some hitters who are going as well. Brandon Lowe's got a good start over there at second. And then Johnny DeLuca is actually hitting in the 400s. Christopher Morel is a guy who's interesting to watch. He's starting out all right, and when he's on fire, he can be the most electric hitter in the game. But when he's cold, he can basically just disappear. So it'll be interesting to see if he can be more consistent. And then if he does start going cold, how long of a leash he's going to get there from Tampa Bay. We also have Boston Red Sox playing 4-4 ball, 500. They struggled a bit out the gate, going 1-3 against the Rangers, but they righted the ship, taking 2 of 3 from the Orioles, winning their opener against St. Louis. They look like they have a real rookie stud here, Kristen Campbell, an impact rookie at second base. They love what they saw. They extended him early on. This is his first year. They extended him for 8 years, buying out all of his arbitration years and then some. Their sophomore, Wilyer Abreu, won the Gold Glove last year, had a great breakout season, taking all the strides forward you would want to see. He has 3 home runs and an average of 500 right now. So I need to double-check this, but that's got to be the top average in the game. Duran, also, high floor player, had one of the best seasons last year, was almost an 8-WAR player. Also, I was watching him in the game, so the way he plays the ball up the Green Monster, I know that's such a niche Boston play, but it's impressive. I've never seen a guy who really just almost uses the velocity to his advantage. I mean, he's basically ready to throw it as it's in his hand from the bounce off. And just an iconic, it's nice to know that the left fielder in Fenway can really play off that. There's been some pretty bad left fielders out there, from Manny to Hanley. So to see a guy like Duran play that field, it's just a nice little sight out there. He's going to be good. Don't know if he'll have the elite type of bat season he had last year, but with his speed and defense, it's just such a high floor level player. Now, they got some really interesting upgrades in the rotation. Garrett Crochet recent addition, also has now been extended. He has looked good to start. The other addition to the rotation, Walker Buehler, has not really. His off-speed pitches, they were looking a bit flat to me in the game I watched him pitch against the Cardinals, but it's early. Now, bullpen's been good so far. 37-year-old Aroldis Chapman is the closer. He dials it up still to triple digits and averages high 90s. I'd be surprised if his ERA at the end of the year was out of the threes. If he had a 4 ERA, that would surprise me. I see him as a solid arm there and not a bad option. They've got some other pitchers there, so we'll see how that goes. Moving on to the last of the division, we've got the Baltimore Orioles, who 4-5, the AL East is tough, not really starting that bad. They're splitting an open series with Toronto. They lost 2 out of 3 to Boston, and now they're trading blows here with the Royals, a rematch of last year's playoff series. There has not been a ton of starting pitching yet. Right now, Kramer and Morton have both been pretty bad on their first time through. Zach Eflin's kind of the de facto ace of the staff right now. He profiles more to me as like a solid number 3 type pitcher. And then the O's bring in 35-year-old veteran ace from Japan. I had not heard about this guy until his first start, Tomoyoki Sugano, a total wild card for the A's team. He has a really interesting story coming out of Japan. Maybe save that for the next episode. But right now he's thrown 2 starts, 9.1 innings, only 3 earned runs. I was watching him a bit against the Royals, a lot of off-speed splitters and sinkers. He's a crafty pitcher. His fastballs have a little bit of deceptive movement to just kind of get you to not really hit that barrel, make weak contact. I'm actually excited to see what he does. In the bullpen, Albert Suarez is a dog. He can swing to the rotation if need be. And he did that last year, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen again at some point because I am pretty worried about the starting depth there. The bullpen can be a real strength. If Felix Bautista is back as a closer, he missed all of last year, had a 1.48 ERA in 2023. Him and Yiner Cano, they have the type of talent where if it clicks and they're healthy, that's one of the most shutdown 8th ninths in all of baseball. But the meat and potatoes of this Birdie Club, it's not the starting pitching, it's the offense. It's ridiculously chock full of young, talented players. Rutschman is still only 27. He feels to me like the captain of this team for sure. The moment he arrived, so did the Orioles. That first year in 22, season was going pretty badly. He arrived, was called up in late May, and the season turned around immediately, and they were a 500 or better team. And then they go to the playoffs in 23 and 24. It's so good to see him cooking at the plate so far this year after a season that was, by his standards, a bit below average at the plate. By everybody else's standards, is a fantastic season. He still had a 106 OPS with excellent defense, almost a 3-WAR player. So let's remember the type of bar that he's setting for himself here. Jordan Westberg has been good. Mullins, Urias, even Jackson Holliday is getting in. He's swinging the stick pretty well. I like to see that. Great pickup this offseason with Tyler O'Neill. He always seems to be a beast early on in the season. Let's hope he stays healthy. Probably their best offseason move. Tyler O'Neill has 30 home run type of power. Now, the team has the bats where the starting pitching can afford to be fairly mediocre, so I'm excited to see where this lineup takes them. And then we're going to jump on over to the AL Central, moving divisions. We've got the Detroit Tigers up top right now, running this division, albeit at a 4-4 record. But like all teams that faced the Dodger Goliath early on, they shouldn't really be too mad about and pessimistic about those early losses. They actually looked pretty good against the Dodgers. Single or double, a single swing could have won them a couple games in that series. Their first baseman, Spencer Torkelson, is hitting a nice stride. He's starting to come together. Had a 125 OPS in the second half last year after a bad first half. He was a first-round draft pick. People are really high on his bat. Still young, still kind of in his late 20s here. Spencer Torkelson, I would actually buy into. He's looking really good to start. His timing is on. Gleyber Torres, their big offseason addition on the offensive side, has an early oblique strain, so they're playing Colt Keith out there. He's a 23-year-old rookie who honestly has some really good minor league statistics, a solid 300 hitter through his rise in the system. He somehow got a 440 on-base percentage with a 176 batting average and 25 at-bats, so it's good to see the kid taking his walks. We love to see it. That sort of plate discipline shows a lot of skills that will translate to a good career. Flaherty is a fantastic re-signing that shores up an underrated rotation. He was honestly one of the better arms on the market, and with Skubal, that is a legitimate 1-2 punch to come at you in the playoffs. Excited to see what the Tigers get up to this year. They basically were able to beat the Houston Astros with one Cy Young and a mob of pitching bullpen chaos. So with a couple more starters and some young guys coming up, I'm excited to see what they can do. They were a hot team at the end of last year. We are going to the Cleveland Guardians. You see them 3-5. The bullpen was really the star of this Cleveland Guardians last year. I was looking at their numbers, and not a ton of great starters. Tanner Bybee was good last year, but they just had an absolute ton of guys in the pen, giving them 50-plus innings with great ERAs. So those sort of long relievers, I expect that's going to be the same this year. They have a lot of the same names in there. Tanner Bybee, like we said, solid starter. The Angels did just get to him. It's hard. Sometimes Mike Trout gets you. He gave up a no-doubter there, and he had kind of a funny reaction. Trout just hits a deep bomb. He doesn't even look back. He just kind of kicks the mound a little bit. But he's going to give them a plethora of good innings. I don't see a ton of depth, though, beyond him. Gavin Williams could be good. Ben Lively isn't really proven, but he wasn't bad last year. And then beyond those guys, the 4 and 5, I just don't see a ton. Now, Jose Ramirez's demise greatly exaggerated after an awkward slide. He kind of bent his wrist as he was caught stealing in an early game. He comes right back. He's hitting home runs and making diving plays around the infield. He's so underrated that it's almost a meme at this point. But yet somehow I watch him when he's so nimble around the bases and makes certain plays, and it still surprises me, which shows that I'm underrating him once again. So nothing should surprise me at this point. The guy is actually a Hall of Famer playing in front of our eyes. Stephen Kwan in the outfield is the real deal. I think that may be the game's best contact hitter, even ahead of Arias. But the Guardians' most interesting storyline of the year has to be the guy they're putting in the 3 and 4 hole, rookie right outfielder Kyle Manzardo. He's starting the season off hot, has a 926 OPS, but that is a lot of pressure. Like I said, putting him in the 3 and 4 spot in most of these games. So far, he's responding well. He has graded out as a negative defender, so if he's going to thrive in the bigs, he's going to have to be a hitter. As a side note, watching Big Christmas, a fun nickname, Joinski Noel, got a really funky batting stance that I think is a treat. He really just flexes his thigh muscles so much before he hits, and it cracks me up. So, Big Christmas, I hope you hit a ton of dingers this year. Moving on further down, we got the Kansas City Royals, also 3 and 5. They were a pitching first type team to me last year, and it was good enough to drive them to the playoffs and a playoff series victory. And so far, it's held up just fine. Reagans, Lugo, Bubik, Waka, that is a nice 1 through 4. Michael Lorenzen is actually a sneaky high upside pick for me for a number 5 pitcher. The last 2 years, he's shaken off the injury bug for the most part. He threw 130 and 153 innings. He had a 3.31 ERA last year. And after the Royals traded for him mid-season, he made 6 starts with them, had a 1.57 ERA. So with all that in mind, it makes a lot more sense why they'd be willing to trade a player like Brady Singer, who is a good number 5 pitcher, for a guy like Jonathan India. They don't have a super deep lineup. Vinny P's good, Witt Jr.'s good, Salvi's usually good for 20 home runs, but who knows when Father Time's going to catch up to him. So having India, who's hitting pretty well to start, is a good feeling in their lineup, I'm sure. They're going to be looking for Michael Garcia, 25-year-old third baseman, to take the next step. He's starting off strong with the bat, and he's more of a speed defense kind of guy, still 37 bases last year. Bobby Witt's obviously going to get going, and we'll see a lot from Salvi, I'm sure. And Fermin has actually got some promise back there behind the dish as well. We are going to keep on rolling. The Minnesota Twins, a lot of 3 and 5 teams here in this AL Central. The Minnesota Twins sneaking back up. They started off really cold here, but really mid. Coming back, Joe Ryan looks good. Pablo Lopez is really pitching the ball well. It's just that the offense has been mostly a no-show. There's kind of a random 3-run home run performance and 19 plate appearances from Harrison Bader, but just not a lot of pop anywhere else. I do see a lot of injury risk with this Twins team, and not a ton of offseason moves that addressed the holes that I see in their lineup. Their offseason answer to losing Carlos Santana and his 23 home runs was Ty France, who's 30 and kind of trending in the wrong direction, hit 13 home runs last year, 12 home runs the year before that. So not too high on the Twins, but we'll see. It's early. And at least they're not the last team in this division, the Chicago White Sox, going 2-6. They had a nice 8-1 opening day win against the Angels. Been pretty mid to bad since, but I don't think it's possible to be as bad as that 121 loss season from a year ago. That was truly historic. Benintendi is hitting this year, which is good to see. He's kind of slotted in as their best hitter. Brooks Baldwin is a 24-year-old rookie that they have playing shortstop. He's holding his own, at least in the first week. Not much else is going on offensively. The starting pitching has been fairly good. Some untimely bullpen runs led to a couple close losses to the Angels. Not really much to say here. I think we all expected the White Sox to be here, and here they are. Team ERA, I guess, at 3.99 at this point. Not as terrible as we would have thought. We're going to switch up gears to what I think is also a toss-up division as well. We've got the AL West. I think in my heart, the Astros playoff run seems inevitable, but I really like the Rangers' chances as well, and obviously the Mariners' pitching is going to make them at least a high-floor team. I don't know if the ceiling's so high, though, because they just seem to always miss the playoffs. But at top right now, and honestly probably as likely to win the division in my mind as the Astros, is the Texas Rangers. They got to be feeling nice with their 7-2 start to the season. They sweep the Red Sox, lose 14-3 against the Reds, and then win 2 1-0 shutout games. Only in baseball, folks, can you get outscored 14-5 and still win the series. It's the starting pitching that's actually been the star so far for the Rangers. Eovaldi's looking lights out. Jack Leiter had a really big first 2 starts. The Rangers rotation, I think, is the one with the biggest disparity between the ceiling and the floor of what it could be. Leiter Jr., they're leaning on him heavily. He's only 24, the youngster son of former Major Leaguer Al Leiter. He's got a high prospect pedigree, but he's never really been dominant in any level. I could see him being anywhere from a solid number 3 to pretty terrible this year, actually. Neither would surprise me. And then, of course, dark horse candidate for, biggest question mark X factor in all of baseball is probably Jacob deGrom. He's back, and he's looked good in his first 2 starts, contributing to Rangers wins. And we all know what deGrom can do. He's a Hall of Famer, no doubt, on a per-rate basis. It's just, can he stay healthy? And then even their other guys, Tyler Mahle, it's another guy I could see him being below average. Last year he had a 4.97 ERA, but his FIP is always closer to a mid-3s ERA guy, and he's been that before, so I can see him being that as well. So far, the pitching's working for the Rangers, although Kumar Rocker did get rocked in his first start. He's a rookie pitcher they're throwing out there as a number 5. On the hitting side, Adolis Garcia is hitting pretty well again, which is maybe the biggest thing Rangers fans are hoping for out of the lineup. He's a 30-home run guy when he's on, and he was just not great last year. The catching tandem of veteran offseason acquisition Kyle Higashioka and Jonah Heim, has really, it's been good so far. Jonah Heim has 2 early home runs. He's looking for a bounce back. He had a tough 2024. He was one of the players in the majors who had the biggest fall off from a good 23 to a bad 24. So getting him back to even average would be a big upgrade over last year. We keep it on rolling here in the AL West to the Los Angeles Angels, who might actually be just as happy as the Rangers fans here. Not a lot of expectations, and they're starting off here 5-3. So right now, they're playing solid ball. Yes, it has been against the Cardinals and White Sox, but you know what? They split in a series so far with the Guardians, and they're seeing production from all around. The pitching's been fine. I don't think this is a playoff-bound rotation or anything, but the offseason acquisitions of Yusei Kikuchi and the professor, Kyle Hendricks, those are upgrade-type moves over what they had last year and at least put them in trending in the right direction. Kenley Jansen's still a solid closer, and the setup man, Ben Joyce, throws a literal flame ball. It's that fast. So there's some fun storylines here. Shortstop Zach Neto, probably their best player outside of like Mike Trout, is set to begin his rehab assignment, which would be a really solid boost when he returns. Mike Trout has hit 3 homers, and he's played in all 8 games so far, so that's no surprise the X factor for sure for the Angels this year. Their catcher Happ has proven he is the real deal out there. He might be him, Mike Trout, and Zach Neto. Really, that's a solid 3 players there. And Soler's a nice little offseason addition to the lineup. So keep it up, Angels. I'd love to see surprises. Why not? Keep it up here. Third place in the AL West, we are rolling into the Sacramento Athletics, or just the Athletics, or the Las Vegas Athletics. I don't know. I got the pleasure of watching my Cubbies open up their Sacramento homecoming. Not going to lie, that first pan around the field view made me chuckle. It just does not look like a proper Major League stadium. But the park does have some charm. There's a really nice bridge in the background. We love bridges in the background. There's a kind of a big center field green wall-esque Fenway green monster type thing. But all the people laying down on blankets in the outfield give it a funny vibe for a Major League game, and the ball's just flying out of the ballpark in that series. I can't wait to get more data on park factors and hitting. I got to do a deep dive on its dimension because the ball, it is a hitter's park of hitter's parks. Holy wow. I maybe would take the over on Brent Rooker to pass his home run total from last year at 39. He's a true stud in this lineup, and yeah, he's going to be hitting some out there in their new stadium. Soderstrom and Langoliers have looked good so far, but it is actually 23-year-old rookie shortstop Jacob Wilson coming up. That is the story of the first week to me. He's an insane contact bat in the minors. He batted over 400 and over 300 plate appearances. He's already hitting 364 right now. I really like his at-bats, his approach. I could tell when he's up there that he's just there to game. I wouldn't be surprised if he has an absolutely solid MLB career. Now, the pitching's been fine. Outside of really their number 5 guy, Joey Estes, I watched that whole game where Cubs blew him up. I'm not convinced he's the answer they need. I saw a statistic in the game that he was one of the most fly ball heavy guys in the entire majors last year, was the most fly ball heavy guy. So with a new home run and a new home stadium and a home run happy park like it is in Sacramento, just good luck this year, Joey Estes. Severino was a good pickup this offseason, though, and I learned a few names: J.P. Sears, Jeffrey Springs. The bullpen's had a few blowups, but see, let's do something, A's. People are really hype on you for some reason. They want to see it happen, so let's see it. Then we have the Houston Astros. I hate to say it, but the inevitability, they started last season off so badly. I need to grab the statistics from that nobody thought they had a chance, and then they ended up in the playoffs. So I'm never going to count this team out. Yordan Alvarez is obviously going to get going at some point. He's just a pro's pro. Right now, I think the rotation actually has the potential to be sneaky good. It's the offense that hasn't been going. The team ERA is 3.42. There's not a ton of huge names out there to the casual fans, but Framber Valdez is one of the top 10 most underrated starting pitchers in the game. Him and Hunter Brown really go under the radar. Hunter Brown had 170 innings of 3.49 ERA last year. And Ronald Blanco, if he comes even close to the type of year he had last year, he had the 4th best ERA of qualified starting pitchers in the high twos there. The Astros have pitching, and I think Wesneski and Arrighetti, those are high upside youngsters that they're trying out there in the rotation who could both grow into solid contributors this year. I could see them also taking a little bit of time and not being fantastic, but I wouldn't really guess that they're probably going to be mid-4s ERAs, but I can see them being in the mid-3s as well. They have a great bullpen even without Ryan Presley, who went to the Cubs. The Kurt to King to Abreu to Hader. It's a great ramp-up to a save. Jose Altuve, your future Hall of Famer, your left fielder. He's defying Father Time. He's hitting 321 right now. I will say he doesn't look great out there in left. I watched him get a really bad jump and then bobble the ball to let Buxton score on the Saturday game against the Twins. But I've seen a lot worse out there. He's not Kyle Schwarber. He's making most of the regular plays. No one else is really hitting yet in the lineup, but just give Yordan and Christian Walker some time. They're going to do some damage with the bat. Although maybe Houston's first base is just cursed lately for anybody over the age of 33. We'll see. We've got the Seattle Mariners at the bottom of the AL West right now. They are 3-6. You'd think they're probably hoping to start off a little better, but again, really early. We know they've got the good starting pitching. Luis Castillo is a Hall of Very Good kind of pitcher. He's that good. Gilbert's great. Wu and Miller have talent. I threw a guy out there, Emerson Hancock, for their first number 5 start. He had one of the worst blow-ups of the season so far, but they've got a lot of other options. The Mariners have good starting pitching. The question, it's the same storyline as last year. Do they have the offense to actually take them over the hump of being just a good team, an 80-win team, just somebody who can make the playoffs? They play in a stadium, T-Mobile Park, that between the dimensions, the weather, the sea level, it impacts the game on a rate basis more than any other stadium as a negative hitter's park. It is more of a pitcher's park than Coors Field is a batter's park. It is the most, it affects the game more than any other park in favor of the pitchers. So the Mariners have to generate some offense. The good thing is Julio has looked nice to start. He's got a ton of walks as well, which is great for a guy with a career 6.7 walk rate. I would say the most obvious way for him to jump his game from all-star level, which it absolutely is right now, to that elite MVP level is to get that walk rate up above like 10%. And right now he's looking great on that. Jorge Polanco's looked good. Arozarena's not bad. Not much else besides that offensively. They're going to need those Mariners staples like J.P. Crawford and Cal Raleigh to go, and maybe the offseason addition of Rowdy Tellez. They're really going to need some production from first base there. Heading on over now to a whole nother lead, we're going to start the NL with the Philadelphia Phillies, 6-2 record. Just one of my favorite teams. It's got a ton of personalities. They're hitting Schwarbombs. Castellanos is playing. Marsh, Trey Turner. Harper hasn't even really gotten going yet. The lineup's deep, man. I think Max Kepler was an underrated signing of this offseason. He's got a career 103 OPS. There are years when it's 120. The guy's a pro hitter when he comes off the bench. He can also start. Speaking of pro hitters off the bench, you got Edmundo Sosa. He's always hit pretty good in his sort of part-time job with the Phillies, and he has defensive value at multiple positions. Very underrated guy. Wheeler's looking good. Nola had a bad start, then a solid bounce back. Christopher Sanchez had a good start. He has 2 seasons now of lower threes ERA. He's really a breakout guy. But it's recently acquired 4-starter Jesus Luzardo, who's the X factor here for me. He looked excellent in his 2 starts. He served the Dodgers their only loss of the season so far. Doesn't have blow-you-away arsenal of the power pitchers type stuff, but he's got craftiness up there, and you can tell he's thinking. He's got strategies. There's 5 different pitches in his repertoire. I wouldn't be surprised to see Luzardo be a solid number 3 type pitcher, mid-threes ERA with 15 to 16 wins over the next few years. He hits his spots. I'm really impressed with him. All 4 of the top rotation guys are all inning eaters and have a good floor. So, I mean, with this potent of a lineup, that you can't really make a lot of assumptions one week in, but I think it's safe to say that this Phillies team is going to be a contender there. And then we've got the New York Mets in second place, 5-3. They're humming along. They've got a couple of their stalwart guys going, Alonso and Nimmo. Their new acquisition, Juan Soto, is obviously the story, $800 million contract. He's looking nice to start so far. 35 plate appearances, 145 OPS. That's what you want to see. Torrens is a backup catcher who's putting in work with the bat right now, starting because of an early injury to young catcher Francisco Alvarez, who probably won't be out too much longer. He's got a hand injury. The pitching's been quite nice early on. Good starts out of Peterson, Kodai Senga, Griffin Canning, McGill, and then Clay Holmes as he looks to transition from a guy who was literally the Yankees closer at this time last year, now the Mets starting pitcher. If the rotation stays healthy, I could see this being sneaky good, especially once Sean Manaea gets back. He's dealing with a right oblique strain currently, so we'll see this team. They should have some juice in it. Lindor to Soto to Alonso has a really nice ring to it. Whatever way you spin it, that's a 30-year lineup of healthy, consistent guys who are going to do damage. And then Brandon Nimmo, he's one of the more underrated guys in the league, like top 5 most underrated guys in the league. He has a career 128 OPS. He's actually been fantastic. They've got some interesting young guys, Vientos, Acuna Jr., or not Acuna Jr., Acuna Jr.'s brother. So they've got some really interesting young guys. I'm glad they signed Alonso back. He's always going to do damage. I mean, you just don't have a lot of 30 home run hitters in the game like him. So moving on, we've got the Miami Marlins, a surprise third-place team here, playing above 500 ball, 5-4. Sandy Alcantara's the big story. Missed all last year with Tommy John recovery. He's been a Cy Young, as really the only guy who's got any hardware on this team. A lot of unproven guys. He looked like all his pitches were working well. The velocity looked there, the movement. That's the best sign they could have. He's an X factor every 5 days. That first game, Alcantara versus Skeens to start the season was a really fun pitcher's duel with a good walk-off kind of game you might replay later. Max Meyer's a guy that the Marlins like a lot, who's trying to put it together in the rotation. He's had a couple nice starts. The bullpens, they're doing all right. Anthony Bender, I think, is the closer right now. He's not bad, not great. Otto Lopez at second base is swinging the bat pretty well. He grades out as a really good defender, so he doesn't need to be anything other than average with the bat to be a nice guy to have out there. And then they've got guys, Stowers is making contact in big moments, hitting walk-offs. Dane Myers is out there as well, trying to prove that he's the real deal, 29-year-old, kind of putting it together with the bat right now. And then Matt Mervis, he's hit a lot of homers in the minors, so can he translate that over? Then Nationals are doing Nationals things, 2-6. They hope to right the ship next week and kind of take the next step in their rebuild phase. Youngster catcher Kybert Ruiz is going off. New trade acquisition they have, Nate Lowe. He's having a nice start at first base. They traded him for a reliever, and the Rangers kind of put Jake Berger in his place. I would say that Nate Lowe is the better hitter over his career than Berger, and right now he's certainly out hitting him. He's off to a great start, proving that he's not anybody just to be traded there. C.J. Abrams, their youngster shortstop, is probably the guy that they think is the biggest X factor in the team, the guy that they really want to build this around, and he is starting off blazing hot, hitting home runs. He can steal. C.J. Abrams has a lot of talent. Now, on the starting pitching side, Mackenzie Gore is their number one. He can rack up the strikeouts, but beyond him, Jake Irvine and Mitchell Parker, they can have successful seasons. It's not a ludicrous thing to think that can happen. But I don't love their 4 and 5 pitchers, Trevor Williams and Michael Soroka. Williams can vary a lot year to year. He's getting older, and Soroka looked flat in his first start. He hasn't been truly effective in years, so it's early, but who knows? I think when your 2 through 5 are all kind of question marks, it just doesn't bode well, but it is a rebuild year. And then we go on to probably the most shocking placement you're going to see on Week 1's episode here. The Atlanta Braves are 1 and 8, losing 4 straight to the Padres. Then going through the gauntlet that is the Dodgers, getting swept by them. They do win 10-0 against the Marlins, but then lose the next one 4-0. It's just that Atlanta's sputtering offensively right now. Really nobody's going outside of Ozuna, and Olsen's been okay. Michael Harris hasn't hit. They're dealing with rookie catcher Drake Baldwin right now, forced into a starting catching role. Longtime vet Sean Murphy is out. And, Drake Baldwin's got above average minor league hitting stats, but, he's been ice cold to start the season. It's hard to make that jump there. Profar's been busted for PEDs. The lineup is just not there right now, and I think there's a big hole at shortstop. I don't think Orlando Arcia is really the answer there. So the Braves lineup is kind of dealing with the exact same thing as last year, where they just don't really have the hitting. They're going to be looking for Spencer Strider and Acuna Jr. to come back as quick as they can. Spencer Strider making some AAA rehab starts, so that's a good sign there. And then we move on to my favorite division here. We're going to the NL Central and my big boy Chicago Cubbies. Now, I'm a huge homer, so I'm probably going to talk about them for way too long, but we're looking good. 7-4 record. We beat a red-hot San Diego Padres team in back-to-back games. We got the bats going, sweep the A's in the opener in Sacramento. We were just hitting home run after home run. Tucker hit home runs in 4 straight games. Suzuki's got 4 home runs. Those 2 Tokyo games to start against the Dodgers in Japan, they were more like a weird fever dream. They followed kind of an anime script. The crowd was powering Ohtani's home runs with the power of friendship and fan interference, but the Cubs split 2-2 with the D-backs and then crushed the A's. It took 2 convincing games from the Padres. We're pitching well. Shota Imanaga's pitching great. Seiya Suzuki is more like a top 50 type hitter in the league right now. He had basically an 850 OPS last year. I think incredibly underrated. The thing that worries me about the Cubs team is essentially we've got a great 1-2-3, Happ, Tucker, Suzuki. But after that, it's just a bunch of guys who are above average, but really we don't have a true number 4 hitter. Michael Busch is a good hitter. I'm glad he's on the team. I think he can take steps above what he was last year as well. But I think he slots more to me like a 6 or 7 hitter. But Busch is hitting, Horner's hitting, Swanson's hitting. If all those guys are going, and even Miguel Amaya, our catcher, who had a big second half last year, if all those guys are above average, it doesn't matter if there's no like superstar number 4 hitter. It's just going to keep coming at you. Consistency. And then, of course, Pete Crow Armstrong, he can make a difference. Even if he's just bunting or getting a walk, he can steal, he can run. I've already seen him make some highlight plays with his arm. Really fun player. Pete Crow Armstrong might be the funnest guy on the Cubs to watch, actually. The only thing I'm truly worried about is the bullpen management. That's kind of was our Achilles heel last year. We had a game against the Arizona Diamondbacks where we just left Eli Morgan in to bleed. We had a 2 to 3 run lead. We let him blow that and then let him give up 3 more runs before we took him out that inning. So watching that happen so much last year, 100% reason we didn't make the playoffs were all the blow-up games in the first half, a lot of the Adbert Alzolay games and Hayden Wesneski and Hector Neris. We've got guys in there now, Colin Ray and Porter Hodge, Julian Merriweather. We're hoping they can provide some stability to that bullpen. But the Cubbies are cooking, and this is the most excited I've been for a Cubbies team in a couple years to start off with. But really think Amaya is actually the X factor here, the catcher. We didn't have good production out of the catcher in the first half last year, but he turned things around, was an above-average hitter in the second half, eliminated his toe hap, really changed his swing. He's had good success here in the opener, And our backup catcher, Carson Kelly, is doing crazy things for backup catchers. So we'll see how it goes. In second place, it's good to see the St. Louis Cardinals here, a 4-3 record. They look to kind of get back to their winning ways. They swept the ice-cold Twins in 3 games and then lost a couple close ones to the Angels. There are some fun pieces here. There's a lot of youth, more youth than I think people realize. They've got Lars Nootbaar and Brendan Donovan, kind of some all-around fun, speedy defense-type players without too much power, but get the job done, still good with the bat. They've got rookie center fielder Victor Scott II, who's starting out quite nice with the bat, and he's more of known as a defense-first type player. Big question mark is, can Jordan Walker take the next step with the bat? He's only 22 years old. He's certainly shown flashes of potential. I do think even if he doesn't turn it on this year or even next year, I do think Jordan Walker's eventually going to turn into a pretty good, at least 120 OPS type hitter. And I think he has the potential to do it this year. He just has a great swing. Again, he's only 22. Young catcher Von Herrera is also flashing a lot of potential. The Cardinals team is very young, and if they can capture a bit of that spirit of the old Cardinals, where all their random youngsters turned into role players, who knows? I think they could actually be kind of a dark horse surprise type team. Nolan Arenado can bounce back per Arenado standards. He looks good so far as this year. Now, bounce back for Arenado, that's going from a 3-win player back up to like a 5-win player. You know, even in his down seasons like last year, he's still a 3-WAR player, kind of the Adley Rutschman type thing we're talking about, where it's just a reputation means you have a season that's good compared to other people that people call you having a down year. Arenado's starting out really nicely, and I could see him definitely having that 5-WAR type all-star season, no problem. The pitching side of things, Sonny Gray and last year's acquisition, Eric Fetty, got him in the trade deadline last year from the White Sox. That is a good 1-2 punch. Fetty has excellent stuff. I've seen him pitch live. He's got some pretty good stuff. It might not blow you by, but he's a crafty pitcher. Now, I don't know if I love Miles Michaelis as the number 4 pitcher. He's sort of acted as a mediocre 5 pitcher over the past couple years. I do think Palente has, he's got a career 3.78 ERA and 300 innings, so he could be just fine as a decent 3 starter. The thing is, they don't really have a number 5 guy, and I think if they had just signed somebody like Minaya or Kikuchi or Pivetta, even Jose Quintana, who was like $2.5 million, I think he signed for, they would have one more to just flesh this rotation out. They really need like a solid 3rd starter. I think Kikuchi or Pivetta would have probably been a good move. They did just draw their lowest post-COVID attendance. It was just kind of hurt to see. Busch is an absolutely great stadium. You can see the arch from where you sit in most spots in the stadium. It's a beautiful classic brick building. I've been to a couple games there, great atmosphere. And it was just kind of sad to see folks not showing up. I know St. Louis is a baseball town, but next time I go to St. Louis, absolutely going to be stopping by Busch. Got to show my love there. The Milwaukee Brew Crew has bounced back nicely from their early sweep at the hands of the Bronx Bombers. They're now 4-5, and those thoughts of Nestor Cortez and 3 straight home runs on 3 straight pitches, that's moving further and further from their mind there. The pitching has been solid after that Yankees series. They have a legit starter in Freddie Peralta at the top of the rotation. I think he's more like a solid number 2 guy than an ace, but you're splitting hairs at that point. I don't know about the depth of this rotation, though. They're giving starts to guys like Elvin Rodriguez. He's a rookie who's kind of a mid-3s ERA type guy in AAA. Not much to say there. The Brewers really seem heavily invested in this strategy of sneaky good guys like Bryce Terang and Sal Frelick, high average, speedy type players. Jackson Chourio kind of fits that mold a little bit, although he's kind of special on a whole another tier above. So interesting to see that strategy. Contreras is obviously going to get going. He's one of the better catchers in the game. I expect the Milwaukee Brewers to just always kind of be there somehow, some way at the end. They're a pain in my Cubbies side and just have been for almost 10 years now. A consistently good organization there. We move on to the Cincinnati Reds, who are probably feeling mildly disappointed, clocking in at 3-6, but of course it's early. Elly De La Cruz is special. We can all see that. A true 5-tool player. He already has a few homers, 10 ribbies, a couple steals, and he's playing good defense. Ellie's got legitimate power that feels a bit surprising with how tall and lanky he looks, but I really wouldn't be surprised if one time in his career he joins Acuna in that legendary 40-70 club. That is kind of my bold in the next 10-year type prediction. He's just that good. He has power. I don't know why I'm surprised by it. Maybe it's because he's lanky. He can generate that ball and just knock that thing, 440 type feet thing. They don't have much other hitting. Matt McClain at second base is looking nice. He's only 25. Other than that, it's been pretty cold. The guys that they're kind of counting on, Candelario, Lux, not really going yet. Encarnacio Strand. Now, the pitching side of things has actually been really, really good. Hunter Green is pumping straight velocity. I watched his second start and came away incredibly impressed. They lost that one 1-0. That's the thing. When you're losing 1-0 game, it's really not the pitcher's fault. Now, they got Brady Singer from the Royals last year, in the offseason. Singer had a 3.71 ERA last year in 170 innings, so he's a good piece to have. And Nick Lodolo had a couple good starts, so I see this rotation has some potential. Emilio Pagan is the closer. He could be pretty good. He's had some good years, a career 3.76 ERA for the veteran right-hander. I would say it's good, not great on that option. Overall, the Cincinnati Reds, they've got to hit a bit more than they've shown in Week 1 to go anywhere in this stacked National League. But, again, it's very, very early. And then, lastly, we've got the Pittsburgh Pirates. It may be early, but I think they're right where we all expected them, 2-7. They do have some starting pitching. It's just everything else that needs work. What can we really say about the offense outside of O'Neal Cruz, who can really launch one and, a good 30 plate appearances to start for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Brian Reynolds is a professional hitter, above average hitter, but I just don't look at this lineup. Ji-Hwan Kwan Bae has really been at the top of the lineup most days, and I just don't look at Ji-Hwan Bae and think of a lineup with much confidence if that's starting off. Cruz is also struggling to learn his new position in the outfield, which just so happens to be the most important one in the game out there in center field. It's nice to have McCutchen in for some pinch hits, but I see O'Neal Cruz might have to take over that DH duty sooner rather than later. I love watching Paul Skeens pitch. I had a nightmare the other day where the Dodgers traded for him and nobody won a World Series for another 100 years. But they do have a good rotation. Keller is a stud. Bailey Falter has been good. Andrew Heaney should be at least a solid 4 or 5 type guy. So hoping for the best for Pittsburgh. At least they're going to have some competent starters. The bullpen doesn't actually look that great. But moving on to our last division, the NL Best. There's no other way to really slice it. Come on, this division is insane. Both the Dodgers and Padres were just now at the end of the week served their first losses, and the Padres are the third best team in this division, with the Giants being 7-1. The Dodgers are looking every bit the part of reigning World Series champions right now. They're 9-1. That lineup starts you off with 3 Hall of Famers straight from the gate: Ohtani, Freddie, Mookie, and then you have the legitimate all-star level guys: Teoscar, Will Smith, Tommy Edman. And then that lineup goes on after that. Michael Conforto is a true pro hitter, and Max Muncy is kind of like Brandon Nimmo. I would say top 5 most underrated sluggers in the game. He's a 30 home run type guy. And then Kike is like weirdly the most clutch utility man in the game. Tommy Edman's looking like he could sneak his way into conversation for one of the best free agent signings of the offseason. He already has 5 home runs now already for a guy whose career high is 13. If he turns into that 5 WAR type player consistently that he was in the best Cardinals years, then the Dodgers are just going to be too stacked. They'll have a super utility man that they can plug into any spot who's an all-star level guy. That rotation is just stacked. Glasnow looked good. Yamamoto looked great. Snell wants the 3rd Cy Young. Even in his bad start, Roki Sasaki had a ton of movement, and in his second start, he looked fantastic. I mean, there's just so much movement on his pitches, and really his bad start looked more like a nerves type problem. He just was kind of spiking the ball in front of the plate a lot. Again, had nasty movement, and he was pulled early in both games. It looks like he has a pretty short leash, which makes sense. He's a young Japanese guy, not used to the American workload. They pitch every 6 days in Japan, not every 5. But they had the game locked down. Even when he had to leave in the 3rd, they locked that game down for the next 6 innings. They have 7 legitimate closers, and I think their offseason strategy of signing all these guys who, literally having 7 guys who could be the closer on the Arizona Diamondbacks, having all those guys means that you can just, any high leverage situation, whether it's in the 5th inning or 6th inning, you can throw a closer level guy out there. And I just think that the other teams are not thinking in that level. And the Dodgers The Dodgers are. A bullpen is being ignored by certain teams, and I think it's going to be their detriment. And the Dodgers aren't letting any holes happen, not even in the bullpen. And I think that's going to pay huge dividends. Side note, I love that they moved Mookie back to shortstop just for the fun storyline. Everyone's like, oh, no, this is going to be temporary. But, he doesn't grade out bad out there. Maybe a bit under average, but certainly playable. And it's a super fun note in his Cooperstown plaque and his story arc, the fact that this whole time Mookie Betts was actually this super utility player that could have just been playing shortstop the whole time. He can play wherever he wants. And there's just a flexibility on this Dodgers team that I've never really seen out of anybody. If whatever move they want to make, if they find a second or shortstop, second baseman or shortstop midseason, they can sign him, move Betts or Edman to the outfield. If they find an outfielder, they can keep Betts and Edman in there. They can sign anybody they want. It opens them up to be creative to a Dodgers team that's already stacked. Second place in the NL West, they got to be feeling good about themselves. San Francisco Giants. I think baseball's better when the Giants are good. It's a lot of fun to watch them just sneak these come-from-behind victories. They won a really good one against Seattle the other day. Logan Webb is like as consistent of a top starter as you're going to get. He might not be like a true ace, but he is a consistent number 2 type guy who's just never going to waver. So maybe that's even better than a number 1 guy who just has great stuff but can't keep it consistent. Jordan Hicks looked good in his first round. If he can be the pitcher he was in the first half last year, that'll give the Giants rotation a huge boost. Last year was his transitional year from reliever to starter. He was one of the best pitchers in baseball over the first couple months before falling off a cliff in the second half, which is not that surprising to see a reliever struggle once his inning totals as a starter begin to rise. His arm might be in better shape for the long grind this year now. The Adames signing, I think, is underrated. He hasn't really gotten going quite yet, but it's crazy to me how far I see him going in the baseball fantasy rounds. People are not buying that he can repeat the 30 home run season in a pitcher's paradise that is the Giants' home Oracle Park. And honestly, I would probably take the under on that as well, but I still think he's going to be going mid-20s home run for them with good defense. Heliot Ramos is the real deal. I watched him in a couple games now. He just has the swing. He has the zone. He understands the strike zone. And the guy's got power. He's not the most graceful of base runners, but I think it's not crazy to think that he might end up being a 30 home run guy, which just never happens for the Giants. I like the way he's looking. Matt Chapman looked good at third. The guy just gives off Giants vibes. Great mustache. Can't wait to see a full season of Jung-Ho Lee. I don't think his ceiling is like all-star level, but he takes good at-bats. I really like the way he fights in his at-bats. I wouldn't be shocked to see him as a consistent like 2 to 3 WAR-type player if he can stay healthy there. And then we've got the San Diego Padres, the best third-place team in any division for sure. They're 7-2. Only team they've lost to being the Chicago Cubs. This Padres team is being powered by the names you'd expect. Tatis Jr., Machado, Jackson Merrill, even newcomer Gavin Sheets, outfielder from the White Sox. He's looking to take that next step with a bat. He's starting off really hot. I think an X factor here is actually going to be Xander Bogaerts. Is he going to look like he'll keep continuing to decline, or can he turn things around? Because he still has, he's fine with the glove still. If he can just be a league average hitter with the glove he has, that's a 2 to 3 WAR player. Like, that's a contributor. If he can turn it around just a little bit extra, he can go back to that 4 WAR player he was. Or is he going to be more like the version last year, under 85 OPS plus type thing and just kind of dragging the team down? Now, they've gotten good starts so far. Cease, Pivetta, King, Vasquez. Once they get Darvish back in this rotation, that could be a gauntlet. And they've got a bullpen that runs deep, so I really like the pitching here. And so far, their team ERA has been 2.28, so the pitching has certainly been a highlight. Now, the late Padres owner, Pete Seidler, did pass away in 2023, so ownership's kind of doing different things. Pete Seidler was really trying to win in the twilight of his life, so he was adding on all these big contracts like Xander Bogaerts, trying to win. They're trying to wrap up some of those contracts a little bit, not spend quite as much. So we'll see how this goes forward. They did sign Pivetta, though, in the offseason. This is a team that was probably the second best team in baseball last year, has a real competitive shot to win this year. So I just hope they support these players. This is a good team here, this Padres team. And then we have the Arizona Diamondbacks. If the Padres were the best third place team, the Diamondbacks are for sure the best fourth place team. They're also above 500, 5-4 record here. Eugenio Suarez is terrorizing Chicago. He's got 5 home runs so far, 4 of them against the Cubs. They took the series against the Yankees, 1-1 in Washington. Out of all my offseason predictions I've made, the one I'm maybe the most nervous about is saying that Arizona will not make the playoffs this year. There are just so many good NL teams in the hunt, but Arizona can ball. I mean, losing hitters Christian Walker and Jock Peterson hurts, sure. Those guys were both mashing, but they have studs in Marte and Corbin Carroll, who I think is going to be even better than last year, Eugenio Suarez, Geraldo Perdomo. They got first baseman Josh Naylor, who hit 30 home runs last year, who's hitting over 300 now. Compare that to Christian Walker, who they lost, who's hitting 185. Right now, they got to be kind of happy with what Naylor's doing. So, Arizona Diamondbacks can absolutely mash the ball, but it's the same story. They could do that last year, and they didn't make the playoffs. Right now, they have a 798 team OPS, a 5.01 ERA. It's going to be the pitching that's either going to make or break them. Corbin Burns was the best move they could have possibly made this offseason. Him and Zach Gallen is a legitimate 1-2 punch. Zach Gallen looked fantastic throwing against the Yankees. Maybe the best I've ever seen him, and I've seen him pitch a few times. It's just beyond that, I don't know about the rotation depth. Eduardo Rodriguez fell off last year. Merrill Kelly is 36, trending in the wrong direction quickly. And then Brandon Pfaadt, he did have some nice starts in the 2023 postseason, but we're 289 innings into his career. And he's got a 5.06 ERA so far, so not sure about the depth here. And then A.J. Puck, the closer, he doesn't necessarily excite me, but he's not a bad option there. This Arizona Diamondbacks team can mash. Expect them to score some runs. Exciting games to watch. And then we have our closer, the Colorado Rockies, rounding out our show. They're 1-7. I think this is where we all expected to see the Rockies after the first week, but props to the Rockies fan. Good team, bad team, it doesn't really matter. They're always out there getting Coors Field packed and rocking. Maybe my favorite stadium in baseball. It has a gorgeous view of the mountains if you're sitting in the upper bleachers along the third base side. Kyle Freeland, he's been a Rockies pitcher since 2017. He even grew up in Denver. He's starting off strong, which we'd love to see. 2.13 ERA over the first 2 starts, 12.2 innings. The rotation's actually been solid. Antonio Sensala has got a 0 ERA in his first 2 starts. It's just that the bullpen's been dreadful, awful, and they literally only have one regular who's hitting right now, and a guy named Hunter Goodman. So good luck to you, Rockies. I love you, Rock Boys. Chris Bryant, praying for you to come back to MVP form. I appreciate everybody coming out to see our first episode here of In the Zone. I hope you all had fun and learned a thing or two about a player you liked. I just can't wait to keep putting out these videos. It's a fun series. I legitimately think this season has so many great storylines. The Dodgers seem like the greatest Goliath I've ever seen. I want to see somebody break the Seattle Mariners 116 game record, and I think this team absolutely has a shot to be 110 or better. So can't wait to keep watching and just keep sharing it with you folks. Tune in for the next one. Glad you took the time to be in the zone.